I'm Lucy from Sew Essential and I'm here today to share my latest sewing mate with you. So everything I talk about today is available on our lovely website. You'll find the link to our website below, and I'll also link the products below that I mentioned today as well. If you like what you see, please do like and subscribe, because every Friday I'll bring you a video packed full of sewing goodness, and I'm also going to put a link to our Instagram account below as well, because I do share lots of content on there that you're not able to get always from the YouTube videos. So I thought some of you might like to see that. So there's a full length photo of this dress and lots of my other makes. I also share progress shots and talk about some of the techniques I'm using. So I just thought I'll pop that below and mention it, because it might be really interesting or useful to some of you who like watching our videos. So let's get started then. This month I have made my boho dress of dreams, I'm going to call it. So it is Simplicity 8875 in this beautiful John Caldor viscose fabric, which is just making my heart sing. I just love the colours. I love those popping colours against the dark background. The dress I chose to make the view that has got a V at the front. It's got a centre front seam here. They do suggest sewing buttons onto that, but I thought I don't need that. I don't think this dress needs the buttons. It's then got a seam that comes under the bust and down to the waistline, and some little gathers around the bust area here, which I'll talk to you about. It's got gathers on the shoulder seams there, and then it's got this nice billowy sleeve that's gathered into elastic at the hem. And then the pièce de résistance, in my opinion, is this beautiful ruffle panel hem. Huge amount of gathering went into this, and it's open at the front, and then you sew panels all the way around the back of the dress which join up. But I'm just so in love with this girly, frilly, ruffly hem. It's just so beautiful. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later, but as I say, I think this fabric was absolutely perfect for this dress. Some of you have asked on Instagram, does it crease easily? It does. It probably will crease a bit because it's a viscose fabric, but because of the print it's not very visible, and I have to say I can't really see many creases on this at the moment. I've worn it a couple of times, not for very long, but it isn't one of those viscose fabrics that creases really easily. It isn't at all. You know, some of them you only have to look at them and they're creased, but this isn't one of those. The other things I really liked about this fabric is it's a lovely weight. It's a matte viscose. It's not a slubby one, it's a soft one, but it's matte, it's fairly opaque, and the weight is lovely. So it wasn't one that I had to cut on a single layer. You know, some viscose fabrics are so fluid, you have to cut on a single layer, otherwise your pieces don't end up right. It wasn't like that. It behaved really well, lovely to sew with, great for pressing as well. So yeah, really pleased with this lovely fabric. I'll just tell you about the sizing on the dress pattern. So it runs from a 30.5 inch bust, 23 waist and 32.5 inch hip, up to a 44 bust, 37 waist and 46 inch hip. The view I made was view A, but there's also another view which has got the ruffle panel, the plain V-neck and then short sleeves. There's a version that looks like it's sleeveless, but then it's got like a ruffle panel which comes across the neck, around the neckline, and then the edge of the ruffle almost acts as like a little cap sleeve, and that's got the ruffle panel on the hem as well. And then there's also a version with the plain V-neck, some short sort of fluted sleeves and a plain sort of A-line-ish skirt. So lots of different options in that pattern to play around with, but I just went for this full boho Woodstock sort of vibe that I've been dreaming of and watching from the sidelines as usual for ages, and I'm sure it's probably going to go out of fashion or something now that I've finally got round to making one, but I don't care. I'm so in love with it. I'm so happy with it. I'll show you with my leather jacket, which is how I would style it if I was going out, which obviously isn't happening right now, but I just think that works really well. I love the contrast of the jacket against the dress. So yeah, absolutely thrilled with this one, guys. So let's talk about the sizing and any fit adjustments that I made. So size wise, I decided to make a 12 and grade to a 14 at the waist and hip. Now my bust is 34, which puts me in the 12 for that, and my waist and hips are 28, 38 up there or thereabouts, which puts me in the 14. I think I could have actually made a 10 and graded to a 12 perhaps. And I had to sort of make some decisions as I was making it, how I wanted it to fit, because I've seen some versions of this dress made on Instagram, sometimes often people who are fuller busted than me, and it was really quite fitted at the top, more fitted than mine is, and sort of more fitted round the waist, whereas mine is quite loose fitting really. And I think, in all honesty, I would have quite liked to have taken a little bit out of the side seams there, just to bring it in a little bit round the waist. But because you sew the order you sew the panels together in, I did have a go at unpicking the side seams, and I knew I was just going to wreck the dress. It just wasn't going to work, so I had to give up on that. But what I did do is I took it in quite substantially at the side seams here under the arms, and then I tapered out to the original seam line at the waist. So I did that because I felt it gave me a better fit across the bust. I had to then take the same amount off the underarm seam on the sleeve as well, but that all worked out really well. But I mean, I'm talking like ½ an inch probably I took off each side, so I do think probably I could have got away with a 10 and then grading to a 12. But I decided that I do like, because of the style of dress, I do like the fact that it's nice and loose and airy and light, you know, and I think actually that's in keeping with the sort of style of the dress really. So I'm really happy with it. I feel great in it. It's lovely. One of the other changes I made to improve the fit was I did move the gathers up. So the gathers were sort of further down here, and I think because I'm quite small busted, I often find that bust darts and things like that are too low for me and I have to raise them. And I did the same with the gathers here. I just moved the section of gathering up the towards the bust more, because I felt that that was more flattering and sort of sat better. When it was down here, it looked like, you know, my bust wasn't in the right place, so I did just move the gathering stitches along, and I think that's worked out really well as well. Other than that, I made my usual high round back and forward shoulder adjustment, which I make on everything I ever make. So even knit garments, people ask me about that sometimes. Yeah, I even make it on that. But other than that, you know, dead straightforward. So I did have a little bit of a play around with the fit, but you know, overall there wasn't anything overly complicated that I did or changed. I just made a few tweaks here and there just to get a better fit for me and what I wanted to achieve. In terms of construction, it was super easy to sew. Probably the most complicated part was the invisible zip, and I'll try and do a tutorial on those and share some tips on those in the coming weeks on the vlog. But yeah, everything else really was dead straightforward. The gathering stitches, you know, are quite labour intensive. I chose to do 3 lines of stitching to really get nice even gathers, and I do like to do that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And what I really liked about the pattern as well, if we look at this ruffled hem, you know, there was so much fabric in that you were able to get these really sort of exaggerated gathers, which I really like, because I think sometimes patterns just don't seem to give you quite enough ease, and you do gathers and they sort of don't look like a proper gather. It looks like more of a tuck, or like you've made a mistake sometimes. But you know, there was lots of volume, lots of opportunity to get really good gathers in that. Had a couple of mishaps on this make. The worst one was that I'd finished it. It was all I'd got to do was unpick the gathering stitches, and it was hanging up in my living room one night, and I thought, oh, I'll just get a photo of that beautiful hem for Instagram, and I noticed one of the gathering stitches threads hanging down, so I went to snip it and I snipped through the hem of the dress, which was lovely after all that hard work. And it was a lesson learned not to try and do something like that at 10 o'clock at night when you're absolutely shattered. So I had to, you know, it was a tiny little nick. I tried hand sewing it and I thought, do you know what, you're just bodging this, it's going to look rubbish, you're going to know it's there, it's going to annoy you. So I dutifully sat and unpicked the entire hem, which is really long because you know there is a lot of fabric in this hem. Unpicked the whole lot. The overlocking stitches I'd done, and then re-sewed it, trimmed it off and re-sewed it. So I'm really glad that I did that, because it would have annoyed me forever if I hadn't have done it. But what a silly mistake to make that was. The other mistake I made as well was when I was sewing the panels together for this hem. It's got 4 panels, I think it is, because there's one for the front. One either side for the front and one either side for the back, I think it is. Oh no, there's one panel that runs across the back, and then there's 2 at the front. And I just didn't sew them all together. I sort of created 2 separate pieces. And yeah, didn't realise till after I'd hemmed it and everything what I'd done, so that was another silly mistake. So, you know, I'm definitely making more of those at the moment because I'm tired, we're all tired, it's lockdown 3 here in the UK, you know, I don't want to harp on about it, we're all sick of hearing about it, I'm sure, but yeah, it's I've got to just try and take it easy, I think, with my sewing a bit, hence I've only made one thing this month. Normally I'd have something else to show you as well. But I think that's pretty much everything I need to say about this dress. I'm really pleased with it. I can't wait till we can have some freedom again and we can go out and I can have an excuse to wear it. I think it will look great in the summer as well with strappy shoes. I've got these sort of knee-high block heel boots on with it at the moment for the boho vibe that I keep talking about, but in the summer I would wear it with strappy heels like on the pattern packet, and because it's a viscose fabric and it's lovely and light, I think it would be perfect for an evening out in the summer as well. And I definitely would be tempted to make other versions of this dress as well. It really was a great pattern, it was a super fun sew, the fabric was great to work with, so yeah, I'm happy, and I'm happy to share that with you today. So thanks for stopping by. As always, I mentioned everything I talk about today is available on our website, and I'll pop the links to the products below as well. And if you like what you see today, please do like and subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.